Powered by Rev Media in partnership with TSN, it is season 6 of the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. New to their amazing invitation series is the Canadian Club Classic 18-year-old high proof. Ray, we have done this, so we invite everybody watching, listening, invite your senses to an elevated Canadian whiskey experience only with Canadian Club. We've got Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel on the tour of Florida. Let's be honest here. Arniel joined us from Tampa Bay on Wednesday. We pre-recorded the interview. They're set to take on the Florida Panther or Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously. So interesting guy, right? And certainly well-deserving of his head coaching capacity with the Winnipeg Jets, replacing the legendary Rick Bowness. But, you know, you rave about Spencer Carberry, and we had him on recently and had a good time with Spencer. Just a fun guy to talk hockey with. And different coaches, obviously, but I got that same sense. I don't know about you in the conversation we had yesterday with Scotty Arniel.
I was really impressed because, you know, one of the cool things about doing this is you get to talk to somebody for more than the 3 minutes at the rink. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
You know, when you move along. And I mean, look, he had a long career. He was a really good player, really good penalty killer, and but kind of a blue collar nuts and bolts player. And then he got into coaching and he got a head coaching job. And he talks a little bit of the road past that head coaching job, which I think was really interesting and makes me realize why he would connect with players. And there's lots of smart coaches, way more than there is jobs. But the ones that are the best are the ones that can get the players to believe that their ideas are something they should rally around. And I mean, 15-1's a pretty nice start. I would say he's got that going. But man, interesting guy to listen to. I think people will really like the interview. I was really, really impressed.
Yeah, that's coming up on the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast. Now, we know, because we've had this conversation now into the 6th season of Rain Dregs a number of times, like you and Cammie and the boys, your family in general, try and live a healthy lifestyle, right? You eat right, you exercise.
Yeah, try.
You try. Yeah, I mean, you cheat every once in a while, but so what?
Sure, but I mean, we look at it like we're doing the best that we can to give us the best health that we can. And who knows what's going to happen, but that's just kind of the way we go about it.
Right. So we have family in town here in Brooklyn, Ontario. Our niece, Erin, her daughter, Tori. Erin and Tori are here for the Taylor Swift concert. They flew in from
I hear she's on tour.
Oh, boy. There's already warnings in Toronto, traffic warnings. Stay out of downtown Toronto, because with Taylor here, it is more of a disaster than it normally would be. So they're excited about that. They're going on Saturday. But Holly wanted to do something cool. I got to think about this. Erin went to New Mexico on a volleyball scholarship, I believe, way back in the day. Her daughter, Tori, is an exceptional teenager volleyball player. Anyway, so Holly wanted to do something fun, but also a little bit healthy. So I'm jammed up this morning. That's fine. Insider trading day, got a lot going on. They, right now, as we're recording this podcast, are enjoying goat yoga. So
I don't even know what that is.
Well, you
are you doing yoga Google with a field of goats?
Pretty much. And my understanding is, while you're doing the downward dog or whatever, you've got a goat on your back. Like baby goats. I'm not kidding you. Like the goats are crawling all over you as you're stretching and doing this.
Okay. I can't think of anything more gross. Do you not know the phrase "you smell like a goat"?
Well, I mean,
honestly, that's when somebody reeks. You go, man, that guy smells like a goat. At least that's what I say. And so, no, not interested. I'd like a report next week. Yes. I'd like a report on the goat yoga.
Next episode of the Rain Dregs podcast, yes, I will, and probably a picture or two. We'll find out how. I can envision Tori and Erin doing it, from the prairies, adventurous. I cannot envision Holly having goats trampling all over. So anyway, we'll get back into this in the next episode.
I need a report. I knew
you'd get a kick out of it. So there you go. Next holiday, next summer, you got to plan a little goat yoga depending on the report and what comes back. All right, Ray, it's time for headlines, and this is one of our favorite times of year. Brought to us by Tim Hortons every episode. It is the second annual Holiday Smile Cookie returning.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, November 18th to the 24th. And the best part, aside from the cookie, is 100% of the proceeds are donated to local charities and community groups, including, of course, Tim Hortons Foundation camps. So last year, Tim's raised $9.8 million. So thank you to all those who enjoy the cookie and donate. The guests help raise almost $10 million. So Ray and Dregs are asking you support your community this holiday season with a purchase of that delicious white chocolate sugar cookie, red and green sprinkles, and of course, hand decorated with a white icing smile face. So get to your local Tim's between November 18th to 24th for a smile cookie. All right, we teased the Scott Arniel interview coming up. Winnipeg right now, when you look at the standings, 7 points, Ray, ahead of the Minnesota Wild in the Central, and incredibly, 12 ahead of the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. Now, the Avs seem to be turning a corner. Or is that just what we saw on Wednesday night? Because the big boys from the Avalanche came to play, right? Mikko Rantanen with a natural hat trick, part of a 4-point game in a 4-2 win over LA. Nate McKinnon had 3 assists in that one. So are you believing in historically what we see from those guys and the potential of the Avalanche, or you still need to see more? You still have questions?
No, I think the Avs have fought their way and climbed their way uphill through all kinds of obstacles at the start of this season. They're going to get Val Nichushkin back on Friday.
Huge. Yeah.
Huge addition for them. There'll be, I don't know. I mean, I wonder what it'll be like. Will it be awkward that he's back in the lineup? And but he's going to be back, and he's a hell of a player. Alexander Georgiev has won 3 straight games in goal.
Yeah.
McKinnon's got a point every game at home. I mean, he's just had an amazing start. Makar and Rantanen, you mentioned, had the 3 goals. They might get Miles Wood and Jonathan Drouin back Friday. They've been out without those guys. So if you think
also
of it, Nichushkin, Drouin, Wood have been out of the lineup. And then they lost Ross Colton, who got off to a great start. He's out for 6 weeks.
Jeez.
So they've been just battling and fighting away here. And I'm still shake my head when you go there. You know that Winnipeg's 12 points up on Dallas and Colorado. Like it just seems upside down.
It does.
And so those 2 teams, Dallas and Colorado, they'll catch fire here. I think Colorado's right on the cusp of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll watch how things progress there. Ray, did you know that Connor McDavid is on the cusp of 1,000 points? Did you know that? I was just checking in there just to be sure that you were aware.
I did, and the only reason you're mocking that is, our fearless leader thought that we didn't know that, so he wanted to remind us.
Well, I think he knew that we knew that, but because I didn't have it itemized in headlines, he thought that it was an oversight, and Connor deserves that level of respect at this point of his NHL career. But anyway,
yes, but
Connor
it is.
Again.
I mean, I think that I read he's the 99th guy to have 999 points.
We should ask Ryan.
Ryan, could you jump in, please? Ryan, help me with that. Look, you were
Is that
looking
accurate?
up.
No.
He was. Yeah, he might be off looking up things on the internet. He was researching food for us earlier.
He's gone to get some smile cookies for everybody. So
that'd be nice. But it is. I love the overtime goal the other night. By the way,
the
Draisaitl overtime goal. Yeah, those guys coming off the bench together look.
It's just so good,
so awesome. They were on the ice for 2 seconds, and the game's over. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
But 1,000 points is, man, it's a remarkable number, and to do it as quickly as he has, it's just one more box to check for McDavid.
Yeah, I mean, it seems likely it'll happen in game 659. So 658 games played. Ray, how about Utah? So they score 3 times in a span of 2 minutes and 19 seconds in the third period in that 4-1 win over Carolina, who's been on a heater, right? Vamelka made 49 saves and carried Utah. I think they had 20 plus minutes of penalty minutes in the third period. I think 21. And man, he was stoic. He was there. He just sealed the deal. Utah is one of those interesting stories, of course, because they're new to the National Hockey League. They're playing NHL games in Utah. So I'm glad for ownership. I'm happy for all involved, including Billy Armstrong, given everything that he went through, his management group, head coach Andre Tourné. Go down the list of all the good hockey people there. But this team is legit. Right. And I think we've seen enough for this regular season to appreciate that they're going to make some noise. They're going to keep it interesting this year.
They will. I think of them as the younger teams in the East, like the Ottawa, Detroit, Buffalo. They're out. Utah's out west. Like they're right on the cusp of like starting to make some things happen, I believe. And now, last night's win, you're not going to pull that stunt too many times. That
probably not.
We used to call that in Atlanta the reverse trap, where we would hem the team in our end for minutes on end, and then tire them out, and then go get a scoring chance. And apparently they did that. And they had Michael Carcone jumped somebody. I'm trying to think, Jack Drury, and got 2 for instigating, 5 for fighting, and a 10-minute misconduct. So there was a 7-minute power play, and Vamelka must have. I didn't see it, but pretty clearly, if you're making 49 saves, you're a pretty busy guy. And so Carolina's winning streak goes down. 7 games they were on the win streak. How about Marty Necas got 11-game point streak?
Yeah, he's on your list, hey, of players.
He entertains me.
Here.
Yeah, and he entertains me. I love the way he carries the puck, the boldness that he carries it with, and Carolina's a good team, and so they'll take that one on the chin, but good for Utah to hang in there last night.
Hey, we have a couple of insider trading related topics in the Tim Hortons headlines, and I know you always appreciate that because it's stuff that's being talked around the NHL. Sure. So Toronto had a couple of goals called back in the Washington game on Wednesday night. Steven Lorentz' goal was called back because he propelled the puck in with his leg. Matthew Nyes had a goal called back for the high stick. John Carlson of the Caps also had a goal challenged and called back. It was a weird night. So I'm gonna get to the topic, the homework assignment that the general managers were given earlier this week at the GM's meetings in just a moment. But I believe Zuby has the soundbite queued up with Toronto Maple Leafs head coach Craig Berube expressing his disapproval after the Caps and the Leafs game on Wednesday night.
The one Lorenz scored, I don't understand that call because if you look at the rule, if you kick, a kicking motion is a skate, right? This wasn't a skate, it's a shin pad. So I don't get it, but guys just stuck with it. They weren't focused on it. They just were focused on the next shift, which was good by them. It's good on those guys, and I thought the high stick goal was a goal. We looked at it again. I mean, to me, it's a goal, but, that's the way it goes sometimes. You got to keep battling, and we did.
Yeah, they did. And what an entertaining third period that was. But the explanation I was given, and I want your feedback on the process and the assignment that the GMs have been given here in a second. But the explanation I was given, look, it doesn't have to be the skate that propels the puck, right? If you propel the puck with your leg or your arm, it's the fact that the puck was propelled, evidently, that is the reason it was called
okay,
back.
So I can almost guarantee you, without knowing, like without reading the rule book, I can guarantee you that it says that in the rule book. But I can guarantee you 99 1/3% of the players don't know the rule. And the reason I know that is because at one point when I was playing, they changed the rule, the offside rule, to a tag up. And it was early in the year, and a play happened, and we're screaming from the bench, that's the offside. What's going on? And the linesman turned around to our bench, and he goes, they changed the rule. And we were all like, oh,
Oh.
missed that. Like, we knew it, but you just kind of, you missed it. So I think I know that the rule is you can't propel the puck in. But I can see where everybody would think it's skate only.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because the one play that has become more prevalent is a forward will get down by the goal and he'll just turn his feet, and the cross seam pass, they just shoot it off his skates.
Right.
As long as he doesn't propel it, it's in the net. And
Yeah.
so that one, I can see where there'd be some confusion. The high stick goal, I've always kind of hated this rule that there were two different high sticking penalties or different high sticking infractions
Right.
with the puck in the game.
Yeah.
To me, that's absurd because it seems like you can never quite get the cleanest look at the
Agreed.
stick to the crossbar. I think the player's shoulder is about it's like 2 feet from his stick. Like you can always kind of see that. And if you're taller, well, another advantage you get. Like that's just the way it goes. I don't buy it's a safety thing because guys still high stick the puck, right? I think it should be the same all over. You can't high stick the puck over your shoulders. If it goes into the net and it's under your shoulders, I think it should count.
Okay, so here's the homework assignment. So the GMs met on Tuesday in Toronto, just coming out of the Hall of Fame weekend. The assignment is they weren't given opportunity to talk about Coach's Challenge. They didn't have time to debate or discuss it. It was just, here's what we need you to do. GMs, go away. And between
did they stop? Hang on. Did they stop there?
Just
say GMs go away.
Basically, yeah. Some were annoyed that there wasn't any discussion on this, but anyway, there wasn't. Right. So the homework assignment is, monitor all coach challenges and the review process until the March meetings when the decisions are made and tweaks are not only explored, they're implemented normally, right, for the following season. Talk to your coaches, but come back with ideas on whether you think the process, the decision-making process of the coach challenge needs to be changed. Does it need to be expanded or does it need to be shrunk? What would you do if you're a GM? What idea would you bring to present? Would you shrink it? Would you expand it? What would you do?
First thing I would want is some kind of time frame on the challenges, because I think you can if you have a 90-second window, it goes up on the clock and they can run the 90 seconds down. The horn goes and then that's it. You make your decision, because it's a fallacy to say the reviews get everything right, because they don't. Yeah, you just can't. It's impossible. But what you can do is, if you limit them to 90 seconds, you can make sure you have every event that you want to be reviewed. You can encompass that. You can put it in the bag. But if some reviews are 5 minutes and some are 7, which we've all seen, how can you expand it? You can't. No. Man, you'd be there all night. You got to serve lunch. So I want it tightened up. I want the goal goes in the net. Don't fiddle around at center ice, giving the team more time to wait to hear from their video room. If you've got 60 seconds to make a decision, or 45 seconds, whatever it is, that's it. Yeah. Like, don't keep looking over to the bench and the coach going, "Well, wait a minute." Nah, don't give them that time.
Yeah. And also don't stop waiting for camera angles to come in from the broadcast truck or whatever. Have that stuff at the ready. Like, I'm sorry, but you have, in today's world of technology, that can't be the excuse. We had to wait 3 minutes.
It can't be that it costs money. It can't be, right? Because that's always what it will come down to, is that do you spend a little more to have the cameras on site? Is there a tech issue with that?
Sure, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever it is, figure that part out, because relying on the truck
Yeah.
We don't get it comes from the TV truck, but we can't see it.
Right.
The broadcast
Which
can't
is
see it
insane.
because they got to give it to the league first.
First, yeah, I get it.
And so I'm like, holy smokes, man. Like, could this be any more convoluted? It's like, there's a way to streamline this thing.
All right. Well, second item today on insider trading. The NHL has informed general managers rate average games per week expected to climb next season, per team per week, expected to climb next season to 3.35 games per week. Now, that's a jump from the average of 3 this season and 3 last season. And Scotty Arniel is going to talk a little bit about this, right? Coming up on Ray and Dregs. GM's coach.
And I just talked to Sheldon Keefe in Florida the other day, and he said they've practiced 3 times for a grand total of 72 or 75 minutes in the last 3 weeks. That's all the time they've had.
Wow.
They're playing their 20th game tonight, Dregs.
Yeah. As a player now, my friend. So go put yourself in that world, okay? And you were in that world, but you throw the travel time into the equation. Yeah. The game is played differently. I know it's not as physical as it was when you were playing, but now you're playing almost 3.5 games per week.
Wild.
You're traveling. Where's the recovery time? I mean, the risk of injury and all of this, and we know why it's happening, right? You've got the Four Nations face-off this year. You've got the World Cup of Hockey next year. You've got the Olympics after that. I mean, it's a condensed regular season schedule because of these major spectacle events. I understand it, but
here's
they're getting hurt.
Okay, but so when they say that, you got to realize you're asking the same players in each of those events. You're not saying, hey, this tournament's for 3rd and 4th line players.
Yes, that's fair.
Right? You're asking the same 100 players to carry all the water. And the likelihood of more injuries is very obvious.
It is.
So you can't practice. When you're off the ice, your whole focus is sleep, eat, recovery. That's it. And then you get to, now you don't even get 2 days off between a game ever.
Mm-hmm. It's
like literally you're going to go game like that to make up for those breaks. And so the solution obviously is less games, right? But that all comes from the money bucket. And and we, nobody's ever too excited about that. No. I think when I saw that number, I was like, when you sent it to me, I'm like, that's a crazy a lot of hockey. Crazy.
And the feedback I'm getting from managers who were in that meeting, and it was just kind of like a tossed in number. Again, it was kind of a crash meeting. It always is coming out of the Hall of Fame. It's basically business updates, but that was just randomly thrown out there. Like, oh, and by the way, next year we're going to average. And one of the managers reached out to me and said, "Have you heard this?" Like, I wrote it down as a note from one of the presentations. So there he goes. There'll be more on this coming up, but those are your headlines. Thank you.
Oh, one last thing. One thing I want to throw in here. Yeah. One cool, because Ryan got it, wants the Oilers thing in there, and with McDavid and all that. First game for Connor Bedard in Vancouver this weekend.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Because last year, remember, he broke his jaw and he was out. Yeah. So there's a lot of people out west that are excited to see Bedard in an NHL uniform. 2 years ago, when he was playing junior hockey, he was selling out the rinks anyway.
Yeah. How many tickets do you think he's going to have to dish out?
He did say that he's. He says, I don't have a crazy amount, but let's say I'm gonna pay to play this week.
That's outstanding.
That was a good line.
Good ad. Thank you for that. As we wrap up headlines, thank you to Tim Hortons.
Holiday Smile Cookie is back November 18th to 24th. 100% of proceeds are donated to local charities, community groups, and Tim's camps. Buy a Holiday Smile Cookie to give back to your community.
Our interviews on Ray and Dregs are brought to us by Canadian Club Classic 18-year-old High Proof. Invite your senses to an elevated Canadian whiskey experience with Canadian Club. All right, it's great to be joined on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast by Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel. And Arnie, I know you talked prior to the start of the year on the importance of banking points, right? So you talked to your group, it's crucial to have a good start, especially when you look at the division the Winnipeg Jets play in, the conference, of course, the West, how difficult that can be. But fastest to 15 wins in NHL history. I mean, there's banking points and then there's making history. So how does the head coach explain the start here?
Yeah, it's sometimes you just shake your head. You just wonder. I mean, I got to put all the credit on the players. These guys, the way they've been able to reset. We just talked about the schedule, but it is just one game after the other, and they've done a fantastic job of preparing for the opponent, playing that game, and then putting it behind us and move on to the next one. Really, there has been zero talk about what we're doing. It's just been next opponent, let's go here, because it's a tough game. Everybody at this time of year is a tough out. So the guys have been great that way.
Last year, Arnie, you when Rick Bowness had to step away, you took over and you ran the bench. You were the head coach for the time that Rick was away. So many times it's really tough for the assistant to move over 3 feet and be the head guy. Did that help you at all coming into the year? As hey, you'd already been the head coach and the players were kind of familiar with how you might do things.
I think tremendously. It really did. First of all, like you mentioned about the players, they kind of knew how I had kind of went about things. Not that I was night and day different from Rick, but at the end of the day, just how I spoke, how I kind of ran meetings, how I prepared myself for the team for things. Had a lot of great talks over the summer. Flew out to Calgary. A lot of talks with the players over the summer. Flew out to Calgary. Met actually all three of our captains live in Calgary. Got to meet with those guys. Spent the day with them just to kind of sort of lay things out. That's probably been the biggest thing, is talking to the group. Letting them know what we would like to change, or maybe what we want to do different, what we want to keep the same. And they're the ones that have accepted me and our staff. I think bringing in Davis and Dean has also been a huge thing for us, to new faces. So it's really been the group kind of, accepting us and how we're going about things. And it's been pretty smooth so far.
You've had a long career in this. You've had some, like everybody else, I guess, that's been in it. You've had great moments and not so great moments. Talk specifically about Rick, though. What, as you're learning on this road, you're coaching in here and coaching there and different roles here and there, and then you go coach with someone that's been around the game for literally 50 years. Like, yeah. What were you able to pull from Rick? Because every time we would watch him, we'd be like thoroughly entertained, and with his passion and the way he just loved everything that he did.
Yeah, for sure. The big thing for me is that I'm going to back it up is that, way back I got to work with Lindy in Buffalo, and then I got to, work my way along with AV, Peter Laviolette, and then I got sort of, after getting all that, going through my own experience as a head coach in Columbus, working with all those really good coaches, great assistants. Then all of a sudden I got to the part where we're at the last couple of years, and I got to be with Rick, who I was a great friends with. We were teammates. He was my assistant coach way back. There was always a friendship. He was more of a mentor. He's a guy that I would talk to often about different situations, whether it was myself personally or team, those type of things. But now I got to kind of work with him, sort of understudy with him, kind of all that years of experience that he has. I got to be able to kind of pick his brain as we went along, and he was great for me. He allowed me to do so much in the last couple of years. It was unfortunate that I had to step in the way I had to, but at the end of the day, it just helped me so much. It was really, he was kind of my mentor. He worked me through these last couple of years, and every day I get a text message here, so I might see him here. I might see him here in Florida. He's supposed to come and he says he's going to brave the traffic and come visit us. So
does he ever have a bad day?
No, you know what? And that's the best part about him. And that's maybe one of the things that I learned. I thought it was a little bit of the old school where you're supposed to bark all the time. Well, the one thing about Rick, when he comes in every day, he's the loudest guy in the building. He's hi to everybody. He's getting he's to every player. He's got that personal one-on-one relationship, and just a great guy, just a perfect mentor for me and what I needed at this time for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, he certainly left behind a good chunk of a foundation of leadership. And I noticed this last night. So Tuesday night, Army, you beat the New York Rangers. And after that 15th win in New York, Kyle Connor said leadership is focused on not getting comfortable. and he said, quote, "How can we be better?" I mean, that speaks to a strong level of commitment. So how much of that has obviously influenced this start?
Yeah, you know what? People, maybe don't really understand. It's kind of the embarrassment, the frustration, what are some of the other adjectives that we went through after having such a fantastic year last year. For us as a group, we felt so like this. It was amazing. 82 games. We didn't have great highs and great lows. That season just cruised through with 110 points, and we felt we were a team that was like rising at the exact. We won 8 in a row to end the season. We thought it was the perfect match for Colorado, and we got embarrassed. We got thoroughly embarrassed, and that's one of the things we've talked about as a group. We've talked about individually. I've talked to players about, and it still stings. And so it's why they all say right now, and they'll all say like what you just mentioned about KC. We don't get handed a Stanley Cup in November, and they're still like we're trying to get calluses. We're trying to grow some skin here to what it takes when we hit that April, and then hopefully, we've eliminated 8 teams. We've got ourselves in that dance and get another shot at it, because that's the team we want to see. Everybody's excited about what's going on, and obviously we recognize it's pretty special what we're doing, but there's something at the end of this so-called rainbow that we have some business that we got to get done.
Just talking about Connor, I guess he's underrated. I guess so. But like, what has his game got that people might not know? I mean, other than we see his speed, we see his great shot and his determination to score. But like, what maybe do we miss because people don't see him enough or don't maybe pay attention enough to a great player?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with KC and with a lot of our top skill guys, the buy-in that we've gotten in the last couple of years, extremely high last year, and then so far this year, the buy-in to how they play when they don't have the puck has been outstanding. And it's so much easier to get the group to do it when your top guys are doing it. And that's, where KC jumps out on the screen, watch him track. Watch him come from the offensive zone back there, and he's 100 miles an hour. He uses his speed with the puck, attacking the net. Uses that speed coming back. And Ray, you've seen you played with a lot of great players. I don't know, I put him in my top 5 of that puck coming off of that stick. I haven't seen guys be able to whip it as quick and as fast as he does, and it can be in tight to his feet. It can be out away from his hands, but the buy-in is the biggest thing for me. He recognizes our mentality is we play a 200-foot game of defense. If we don't have it, go get it, and that might be in the O-zone, him dogging a puck there, or that might be tracking guys through the neutral zone, or then in our end of the rink. So, like I mentioned, he's really all on board in that department.
You mentioned earlier Davis Payne and Dean Chanel, your new assistant coaches, and I read something earlier in the year that you had a little bit of an analytics summit in the off season. I thought this was really interesting that Dean had mentioned, and that you don't break the meetings up in just the penalty killing coaches and just the power play coaches. Everybody exchanges ideas. You bring the analytics in to figure out what they're talking about and how it's applicable to the way you can coach your team. Maybe explain how that happened, and because I think it's really interesting. Forever, it's been the analytics guys are over here, and the hockey people, if you will, are over here, and they don't really jive. And so I found this really interesting.
Yeah. For me, it kind of started in Washington. We had a analytics staff, and it was exactly what you said. They were over here, they were upstairs, and we were here. They had their version of what they felt were scoring chances, not just scoring chances, but how the rate of the game went, how the analytics kind of applied to us, and why we were not playing well or playing well, and we weren't really sure of what we were seeing. So we finally had a little bit of a summit and got together and figured it out. Well, we've been kind of building that here. We got a fantastic staff here. Matty Prefontaine and James Cochran, our video guys, are involved in the analytics side, and Matty especially built a lot of our stuff that's kind of there with our group upstairs. And what we wanted to make sure was that we were all cohesive and that we were using the information before. It's one thing about analytics. It's one thing to use analytics after the bad stuff happens, and then, this is really bad. We're trying to use the analytics to get ahead. We're trying to recognize where is the New York Rangers, what are they really good at? What are the Tampa Bay? Where is there some holes where we can attack? And so when it came to the specialty teams, obviously for me, it was a major thing that we had to improve on to help us get through these crazy parts of the schedule that you might win a game on your power play or win a game on your PK. But the analytic part was just to see where some of those holes might be that you can attack. And, we've got great numbers. We've got great sort of different scenarios that we can go to. And there, you know what? We've gradually showed it to the players. We don't use it a ton. We don't, because some guys really don't like it. There's others that are interested in it. But we do show team stuff. We do show, certain things that maybe the opposition does that maybe there's advantages.
Well, speaking of the group approach, I mean, before we got rolling, you talked about because of the condensed schedule, right? Four Nations and how the league has had to manage scheduling. You talked about the change in the morning skate routine. So explain that if you can a little bit. And whose idea is that? I mean, is that your idea collectively? Is that the coaching staff? Is that the players coming to you? How did you realize that this is valuable time and we've got to make the most of it?
Well, I'll first put it on the NHL scheduling department because I think it was 11 and 22 days every other night. And then we got a couple of days off and then we start up again. Now we're on a roll of 9 road games in our next 10 here. So it just became the biggest thing was rest and whether or not we needed to be 100% when the game started. We started to find after about 9-10 games doing this, it felt like training camp. Guys started to have sore hips, guys or hip flexors, guys' groins were tight, low backs, and it was like, okay, this is one of those things where we got to kind of monitor here. What's more important, us having a practice or us getting into the games being close to 100%? So we just tried to kind of like playoffs. You get into a scenario, you usually only skate one time. You either skate the day after the game or you skate the morning of. And we just wanted to add a few drills now that got us thinking about that next night, whether that was line rushes or whether that's, some board play or whether that's anything, something different, maybe a little longer version of our breakouts so that we're handling pucks. That's the other thing too, is everybody wants to touch pucks. Everyone wants to get a feel for the puck. So you got to put them in a position where they're constantly having a piece of that puck.
Well, I don't know how much you've practiced your power play, but my goodness, I mean, 42% seems like a pretty good margin. I know it's early, but why is your power play the way it is? Is it lots of options? Is it lots of movement? Is it execution? That's a wild number, Arnie. I mean, you were a penalty killer. Like that would give you nightmares.
I agree. Yeah, no, you know what? It obviously when we hired Davis, when I was going through the process in the summertime, it was a high priority, both the power play and the penalty kill for me, that I knew there was an area that we had to, like I mentioned earlier, that had to be important for us over the course of the season. And, there was 6 teams that were looking for coaches. There was 6 other guys that were looking for whether it was 2 coaches like me or whether it was just one. So I was really, I got to really get in sort of the heads of some real good coaches. And Davis really jumped out at me, his detail. And he's come in and he's done a great job of selling. First and foremost, he sold his ideas to the players through the summertime. He talked to guys in August. I think one of the big areas is that we grew an attack mentality. Our 2 things. We have an attack mentality that we're going to get the puck to the net. We're not just going to kill our own power play by keeping to the outside. We're getting inside. The other thing is our retrievals, on our entries, our retrievals are like that goal last night. I know it was an unbelievable goal by Gabe Velarde by, just the hands and high coordination. But if you watch the attack into the corner, both Ehlers, and then it was Scheifele, and then obviously Pion keeping it in. That attack is kind of our mindset. It's get the puck, make sure that we have numbers on battles, and then it's as fast as we can. We're trying to get pucks into that blue paint. And you know what? We have the skill set. Moving Ehlers into that bumper spot, or pop spot as we call it, has been huge too because of his quickness and his shot.
You mentioned about getting pucks to the paint. I'm starting to hear that more and more and more, where the penalty killers have become so good with stick lanes and deflecting passes that it almost becomes like, we can get more people there than they can. Is that a little bit of the sense of that?
Yeah, a few years ago, everybody was trapped down. The penalty killers were constantly moving, and it would open up some A1 seams. Now there's a little bit more of a diamond look to it. But when the puck does start to come from the top of the circles down, there is 4 defenders kind of backing in on top of goaltenders, and it's hard to get pucks in there. So when you have the opportunity, it's not so much the first shot, it's the explosion. We call it a spray that happens off of that shot. That's the second chances that you're going to get. Those are the ones that PKs are, like you said, so good with shot block and sticks. That you have to, when you have those alleys to get it through there, you got to create put the chaos on the goaltender. Let him all of a sudden have to battle to find out where that next one's coming from. And I think we've done a great job, one, getting to the rebounds, the second opportunities, and then making the next play. It isn't just slamming it back in the goalie like we saw last night. We made a couple of deep passes and made a couple of plays to put it in the empty net. So there's skill out there as well that opens that up.
Well, Scott, we've talked a lot about the layers of success for the Winnipeg Jets to this point of the regular season, but we haven't talked about one of the most obvious areas of success, and that's Connor Hellebuyck and the year and that your goaltending continues to have here.
Yeah, I'd be lying to you if I said when I looked at this job and saw that guy in the net that it wasn't a priority. In the NHL, you either have it or you don't, and when you have it, you got to make sure that you use it to your best abilities. But the one thing, Helly has been, he's such a great person. He's so relaxed, so calm. He's a fisherman, hunter. He gets away from the rink and then he comes back and he resets and he has his routine. But he can make he makes a lot of coaches look good. But the one thing about our team, and this would come from Helly, this would come from everybody, is we found a lot of different ways in these games to win. It's been our fourth line, it's been our goaltending, it's been our power play. We've gotten contributions from everybody, and that's the part that probably for me is that. As coaching staff, you're sitting here, you're going, okay, are we doing this by luck? Are we doing this by magic? Is it just one line? Is it just one situation? Is it just our power play? So that's the part for me that's kind of gratifying, is that everybody's kind of on board here, and Helly's obviously leading that ship.
Well, you're in this stretch of, last one for me, you're in this crazy stretch. Like this is it's not just lots of games, it's the teams that you're playing. I mean, so does this give you a real sense, maybe by the end of it, of what we really are, or is it just like one chunk of the schedule?
Yeah, you know what? I think we went out on a road trip a couple of weeks ago, and we're like, okay, how's this trip going to go? And then you get through it, and we obviously had success. You come home, and we got Colorado, Dallas waiting for us. Utah, Colorado, Dallas waiting for you. Big divisional games. You're wondering how that's going to match up, how we're going to do there. And we got through that. Honestly, and I know it's amazing. It's crap. It's crap for you guys here, but it's day to day. It really is. We have to, because until our 18-day break, when we can maybe take a breath in February when the Four Nations start, it's just every other night. It's just everybody's going through it. Every team in the league has got the crazy schedule, and you just got to kind of grab the next one, move on, and then obviously reset and do it again.
Well, obviously the best story in the National Hockey League right now.
Yeah.
Hope it continues for you, Arnie. We appreciate you doing this on a rare day off amidst a real difficult time. So thanks again and good luck.
All right. Thanks, fellas. Great chatting with you.
Thanks, Arnie.
All right. Scott Arniel joining us on the Rain Dregs podcast this week, Raymond. And, I like the honesty again. Off the start of the podcast, we talked about how much we enjoyed the conversation with Arnie. And I think that anybody listening or watching would get that same experience. But the honesty of him talking about how they were embarrassed in the playoffs last year, right? They cruised the regular season. We were embarrassed. That explains why Kyle Connor and the leadership core say, hold on. We're not taking our foot off the pedal here. We can't get comfortable. There's still a lot that needs to get done.
I found that really incredible, actually, that he discussed that, because I'd never really thought of it. But of course they would be. They would be embarrassed. Because 7 days after the regular season, 110 points. Yeah, thanks for coming. You're out. And nobody cares anymore. Like every time they talk about the Jets, they talk about a faceplant in the playoffs.
That's right.
Right. And so I found that really interesting. And I also like when he discussed how much Rick Bowness meant to him, and the at the time in his career that he became the associate coach and was ready for this step. They didn't just go hire the next guy down the bench.
No.
Right. They were pretty confident they had the right guy. And given the fact he was able to coach some last year when Rick was away, I thought that was some really great insight. from him. I thought it was an awesome interview.
It was. Thanks to Scott Arniel. Thank you to the Winnipeg Jets. And we will be revisiting a feature item on Ray and Dregs in our next episode. And of course, that's Ask Ray and Dregs Anything, brought to you by Acon, with over 150 years in the construction industry. So Ryan and Randine are feverishly preparing for the next episode, where we bring Ask Ray and Dregs Anything your way. What do you got going on for the rest of the week here? It's Thursday.
I'm in Bristol. No, I'm in Bristol.
Oh, you're a
Connecticut
panel.
today.
You're a panel guy. That's right.
Yeah,
Studio.
I'm at the Worldwide Leader, and which actually, if I could show, I'm facing the wrong way, but right outside the hotel, which is kind of right across the street from, they call it the campus now, because it's like literally like a university campus. It's an amazing place. But is the oldest elevator test shaft. So like right over here.
Elevator test shaft.
So, when you go in an elevator, it's made a lot of times, it's made by Otis. So it's basically a brick column that goes up, I don't know, 20 floors. And I think they just run an elevator up and down in there. I don't know. You can see it forever around here. So
first of all, I thought you misspoke. I thought you meant the oldest. And
no, Otis.
Like, I thought you
had,
you were like chewing on a bagel or something. The Otis.
So now you're giving it to me, eh?
Sorry, buddy.
You got a cough at all? Anytime?
No, that's why I have a mute button. I cough all the time.
Okay, good. I'm just checking. You donkey. Yeah, no. So I got studio, and then I fly home tomorrow, and I got the Canucks game on Saturday against the Blackhawks.
Awesome, terrific. All right.
How about you? What do you got there? You gonna now? Are you gonna hose these women off when they come back from goat yoga, or are you gonna let them come right back in the house?
I have no idea what's going to happen. I've got a lot going on, so chances are I'll be here in the home studio with the door closed, and then I'll watch them kind of feverishly run to the showers and do what they're going to do. Like as soon as I get a picture, I will forward it to you.
Please do.
Sure.
Please do.
So,
yes. Yeah.
But no, other than that, it's a relatively quiet weekend. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, enjoy, and everybody, thanks for listening, and have a good weekend.
Yes. And thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs and make this podcast possible. Our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey, Tim Hortons, and new to the fold, Acon. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. Have a great weekend.